Hey everybody, so today I have a slightly more serious video for you guys. This is talking about the disturbing anti-Semitism that's going on in a lot of our college campuses. I'm going to show you a clip in just a second about the attack that India made on Pakistan. And the reason that this is connected in a way, not directly, but in a way to what's going on with Israel and the Gaza Strip and Hamas. I'm going to show you guys everything that I found here on the subject, and then we're going to kind of explore what is happening on our U.S. soil and our college campuses and the crazy ideologies that are kind of going down as we speak. And there needs to be a stop to this. This is just out of control. So we're going to start this off by highlighting what is going on. As of the time I'm filming this video, I heard about the attacks on Pakistan yesterday, and I saw them just hours after they occurred. This is by Ariana News. Let's check it out. If I can get it to come up here. Yep, here we go. So there's not really any sound on this video, but it kind of highlights the aftermath, the damage that was done to Pakistan. And the reason that this is important, it's not because I feel particularly sorry about Pakistan, it's because there are innocent bystanders in every situation like this. Look at all those people on the road there. I doubt that all of them are terrorists. Now, supposedly, let's pause this. Let me back it up just a little bit, and I'll read this to you guys. India's Ministry of Defense said in a press release that the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and the Pakistani-controlled Kashmir, from where terror attacks against India had been planned and directed. So this all kind of ties back to terrorist organizations and the fact that they're kind of terrorizing the entire world. And a lot of the terrorist organizations are coming out of predominantly Muslim culture, and it's a pretty, from what I have seen, um, I'm not like super versed on the Quran or anything, but I've seen a lot of comparisons to what Islams believe over Christians or Jews, and they seem to be pretty hateful to anyone who believes something different than Islam. Um, and that is putting it mildly. Um, so the extremists are part of the terrorist culture, but Islam itself calls others infidels and other religions, they basically need to be taken out. So uh, that's a pretty violent religion from what I've seen. And considering that because of some of the things that the Quran teaches, it's producing a lot of these terrorist organizations, whether they're extreme or not. There must be um, quite a bit of information in the Quran that supports or gives the idea for terrorism to get rid of those who don't believe the same things that they believe, or else why would there be so many of them? Well, Pakistan, um, I'm going to let this go while I talk. Pakistan is one of those countries that apparently supports Hamas. Okay. So the ministry said in a statement, um, in an unprovoked and blatant act of war, that Indian Air Force, while remaining within Indian airspace, has violated Pakistan's sovereignty by using standoff weapons targeting civilian population. But India has said that they weren't targeting military or civilian, they were targeting terrorist groups, right? I don't know who's right in this. I don't know who's wrong in this. I don't know all of their politics. But what I do know is uh, these Islamic terrorists, or at least the countries that are actively and openly helping terrorists, seem to be involved in quite a few conflicts right now. So let me show you now some of the protests that are going on in universities around America. And these are very anti Semitic. These are pro Hamas, pro terror, um, pro Islam. It's all intertwined here. And um, why, you may ask, are American citizens who should be worrying about our damn selves worrying ourselves over, like, taking the sides of terrorists, but also getting involved in other countries' disputes instead of worrying about America first? So these guys are going as far as to disrupt other students on college campuses, um, other fellow Americans. So they're causing terror on American soil. Why? So mass students disrupt Columbia classes, distribute anti-Semitic leaflets as college named national model for anti-Israel protest. Columbia University erupted in another round of anti-Israel protests Tuesday, with masked people disrupting classes and passing out flyers showing a boot stamping on the Star of David, witnesses told the Post. Video shows the masked protesters bursting into a history of modern Israel class on campus and handing out flyers showing an Israeli flag on fire and the words, "Burn Zionism to the ground." The incident comes as Columbia was named the national model for anti Israel protests, setting a template copied by others for coordinated protests across the country, according to a watchdog group. So, this is one of the flyers that they were handing out on campus. And I just want to point out this was Columbia, and for the exact same reason that there was anti Semitism going on that was left unchecked on Harvard grounds. That's why Trump recently pulled all of the funding from Harvard, because um, they refused to follow the president's policies on stopping anti-Semitism. Um, this is not freedom of speech anymore. This is violence, right? This is calling for violence. They're dressed as Hamas, right? One of the mass disruptors burst into a history of modern Israel class and started to read from anti Israel leaflets. So uh, they are dressing as terrorists and they are going and silencing education on Israel. What is their goal here? And I've noticed the trend that they seem to think nowadays, and by they, I'm talking about a lot of leftists. I'm not saying all leftists, but I've noticed that it is a certain side, largely, who are falling into these mind viruses, right? More and more. and they're just getting more and more outlandish. And this is just another example of how the outlandish and the shocking keep getting worse and worse. Um, let's go down here a little bit. So the disruptors included one person who had a drum. They placed posters on doors and blackboards. They were also accompanied by a photographer to capture their actions. In its report, looking at protests on campus last year, the Canary Mission identified more than 300 Columbia faculty, students, and others who were influential in promoting Hamas ideology at Columbia. Um, it's hard to convey properly how wrong this is in words. The disappointment, the disgust, the shock. Why do these people have to become so extreme? Why do they feel like they're proving a point? It's like they're trying so hard to be anti God, really. I mean, that's what it is. Anti-Christian, anti-Christian beliefs, anti-Jewish now, anti don't even learn about it, don't speak about it, and let's promote those who want to hurt and kill. But they're terrorists. They're not justly fighting or doing anything. They're literally just murdering people in heinous, heinous ways. Okay, so a lot of the people it says that took part in the protests were outside agitators, and only 68 were Columbia students. And I'm just going to say right here, um, I hope all 68 students or anybody else who is found involved in any of this on campus or faculty were immediately terminated or dispelled from the college permanently. They have no business in polite society. Okay. Um, this is a video. It shows the protesters and what they did. This is by CBS New York. Protesters stormed Columbia University's Butler Library, dozens taken into custody. So let's check this out really quick.
Dozens taken into custody at Columbia University after protesters storm a library on campus. Good evening to you. I'm Christine Johnson. Those pro-Palestinian demonstrations unfolded as students are in the midst of final exams. And now Columbia is making some changes starting tomorrow, and that includes suspending guest access requested by students and barring alumni from campus tomorrow. IDs will also be required to access the Morningside
This isn't
campus.
enough. I'm going to stop it right there. And I'll skip forward a bit so you can see more of the protest and what happened. But CBS, I don't always agree with everything that the mainstream media talks about anymore. Um, they're so they're reporting on this as though it's just something that some precautions need to be taken, right? That's not enough to send a message that this is not okay. To completely just stomp this out and nip it in the bud, right? You're going to give guest access suspended. How does that punish those who are participating in anti-Semitism? Alumni access suspended, what good does that do? It's not the alumni that's doing this, right? IDs required. How does that deter people from putting masks on and refusing to give their identities to people while they're already on campus, right? Yes, a lot of people came from the outside. That's true, but there were still 68. That's 68 too many that were already on campus. Um, if they don't dispel all of these people immediately to show that they have a zero tolerance policy from acting like this and from supporting things like this on campus, um, then they're not going to stop this. It's going to continue happening. Let's go ahead a little bit here. Um, yeah, so this kind of gets into it a little bit more.
Wednesday afternoon, many of their faces covered, they vandalized property and took over a room in the building.
We saw that they were preparing for something. They came from different sides of the campus, so it looked like they had definitely planned it before and orchestrated it before.
Stormed through the entrance, kind of shoving some public safety officers, and ran upstairs into what's like the main reading room.
The university president said campus safety officers quickly responded, and at least 2 were injured when more people tried to force their way in. We saw 2 people leaving in an ambulance. The administration says its safety team asked the pro-Palestinian demonstrators inside the library to show their ID and disperse, but they refused. Eden Yadigar was studying for finals at the time.
Public safety made an announcement that everyone in that room would be arrested if they didn't leave, so I obviously left. The protesters stayed.
As a standoff ensued inside, demonstrations grew at the outskirts of campus. Protesters clashing with a growing police presence, pushing barricades and shutting down the block. A student group posted.
Okay, so to act like this, violence against the people in America, the people on campus, the people who are just trying to learn, what are you protesting here? You're trying to say that terrorism is good? That violence is good? You're trying to say that Jews are bad? Because, and I'm gonna get to my understanding of Hamas and what all of this is really about, in case anybody doesn't know. But to support this is to support murderers and to support chaos. I don't think that a lot of these people really understand fundamentally what they're supporting. I think it's just all about being as shocking and anti everything that they know that they can be.
A message from who they call student actionists inside, reading in part, "Public safety officers have choked and beaten us, but we have not wavered. We refuse to show our IDs under militarized arrests. We refuse to go down quietly."
See, that's what I'm saying about requiring IDs as being some kind of like you're doing something here. They were on campus. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were from campus already. They were already on campus. They had IDs, right? And they still donned their headgear and came out and did this. And under all the scrutiny, refused to show their IDs once they were in masks.
3 hours after the occupation began, Columbia's president asked the NYPD to enter the campus library, and soon officers led the masked protesters.
Do you
out
see
in
how she
handcuffs.
just waved to people? Like, that's sickening.
And
Like, she's
soon,
just happy
officers
about
led
it.
the
Look at that.
masked protesters out in handcuffs, 2 by 2. At least 76 people arrested in all, put in vans and taken away as demonstrators yelled from the street.
These people just want to see the world burn. It's insane. So, I'm going to pull up this map here, and I'm going to teach you a little bit about what's happening, okay? And this is to the best of my understanding. I'm not an expert by any means. I've only done some research, and I've learned a bit, but I'm not an expert, and nor do I claim to be. So, yikes. I just zoomed out. Um, so Israel and let's see, I can't get closer, but I believe Israel is right in here somewhere, right? And you've got, I don't see where it says Syria. Right, that's Israel. Um, and these guys are fighting for this piece of land in here, I believe, right? And Hamas is a terrorist organization. They're Muslim, and basically they feel like there is a very holy mosque on Israel land. And they believe that the Israels obviously need to be taken out because it's against Islam, right? They're not Islam. And because Israel has possession of the land that the mosque sits on, uh, they don't like that. They want to take them out. And because Hamas is an extreme terrorist organization, right? They're willing to go in there and try to like take it by force. Uh, Now I don't know what the average Islam believes about all this, but I'm pretty sure they would like to see their mosque under their own control also. Now you have Pakistan over here, and from what I understand, they have been funding Hamas, and they have Hamas in Pakistan also. And I'm sure that because they believe what they believe, um, the Islamic people, uh, they probably have terrorists in a lot of these Middle Eastern countries, right? And India is right here, and they bombed Pakistan because they say Pakistan has Hamas in there, which they do, right? Pretty sure they do. Um, and they say they're justified. Now, I don't know about all that. I'm not going to get into that. Um, I don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong in a lot of this stuff, but I will say this. The terrorist organizations that are trying to kill people just because they're not like them, that's Nazi behavior. That's crazy, right? That's about as Nazi as you can get. And I hate using that term because it's been thrown around recklessly lately. But if you're going to use that term for everything else, actually use it for something that actually matches the energy, right? That is not a way you want to be. Hamas is evil. These terrorists are evil, and what they're doing to Israel is evil. Um, I'm not saying that anyone is completely innocent. However, I will say that we can obviously see who is evil here. Um, Now this tells us Hamas, right? Who are they and what are they fighting for? So basically, it says that let's see, get to the right spot here. Um, Islamic resistance movement is what their name means, right? So it's opposed to the existence of Israel on what it says is Palestinian land. See, Palestine is brought right back into this, right? It wants a state based on Islam in its place and across the occupied West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza. It has, however, signaled its willingness to accept an interim Palestinian state in just the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza without renouncing its claim to all of historic Palestine. So, There was the historic attacks, right? Um, where they killed a whole bunch of people, beheaded a whole bunch of people, right? Um, so when Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th of 2023, the group's main leader was Ismail whatever whatever. I'm not even gonna bother saying this little asshole's names. Um, so let's go down here. Um, why did Hamas attack Israel? Hamas led the deadliest attack on Israel in its history, killing about 1,200 people, including more than 360 young people at a music festival. The unprecedented attack sent shockwaves across the country as Hamas gunmen targeted border communities for hours and took hostages. Hamas has said it is a resistance movement. It has described the attacks as a response to what it says are decades of Israeli oppression, the killings of Palestinians, and year-long blockade of the Gaza Strip. Okay. So it's been a really messy situation. But uh, basically, where did I find that where it says, let's see, parties, presence, as well as they want the land to be part of a future. Was it? Okay, so all Palestinian factions and parties oppose Israel's presence in the West Bank as well as occupied East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. They want the land to be part of a future independent state. Israel's occupation of the land and settlement. It was built there are wait. It has built there are considered illegal by the UN Top Court. However, Israel's current government does not recognize the right of the Palestinians to have their own state. That it would be a security threat. That's right. And they want their own state there um, because, like I said, they've got a mosque there. So this is where it says right here Hamas has also said the attack was a reaction to what it claims are Israeli efforts to take over the Al Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem, Islam's third holiest site. Hamas also wants the release of thousands of Palestinians in Israeli prisons. So that's what I'm saying. It's all about their mosque. Um, yeah. So that's pretty crazy. Um, so Harvard is for Hamas. Something is very twisted on American university campuses. This is by USA Today. So more than 30 student groups at Harvard University signed on to a letter stating they hold the Israeli regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence. It's hard to wrap your mind around. The social justice warriors on college campuses around America have come out in support of terrorists who last weekend raped and murdered and beheaded innocent people, including children, women, and the elderly, in Israel. Sounds like upstanding folk, right? These are the same students who need safe spaces from those who may talk about race or gender in a way they find offensive, or who will shout down and demand the cancellation of speakers with whom they disagree. Yet some of them seem perfectly okay with defending the atrocities committed when Hamas invaded Israel in a surprise attack in which the terrorists murdered at least 1,200 Israelis, 27 Americans also died, and more than a dozen are missing. Yeah, and so you can see the protesters, right? Um, These are people who support Israel. Um, they are not the ones who are for Hamas at all. Okay. Now, what's crazy is that, like the article above said, that the people who have this woke mind virus are the ones who seem to be susceptible to these crazy ideas and these crazy ideologies. They just seem to have to create problems and create conflicts with other Americans and find the most shocking things to defend. It's like they're trying so hard to find community with each other in the worst possible ways. And the same people who are crying and screaming about pronouns and misgendering and all that stuff, they're the ones who are defending this. And it's crazy. It seems the higher ed bubble has decided it's woke to support Hamas and to shun Israel, regardless of how horrific the situation. And even though many of these students believe words are violence, they defend real violence. So I didn't get any pictures um, that support this, but I'm just going to tell you. There has been some disturbing things going around recently where a lot of a lot of obviously left people, woke people, they're trans or gay or um, they're just, you know, one of those left types, are getting on TikTok and other social medias and they are donning the face coverings. I think they call that hijab. And they're basically saying that they're converting to Islam. And they think it's such a nice way to be. But what they don't understand is that Muslims condemn gay people, trans people, and they actually kill them in their religion. They do not uh, they do not tolerate that at all. So if they come out in one of these Middle Eastern countries as obviously gay or trans, what's the difference really? Um, they will be dealt with by Islam. So they are supporting actual haters and they are actually shunning all right wingers, all MAGA, they say, um, who largely are not condemning them. Largely, I would say the right is tolerant. They just want to be left alone. Leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. We agree to disagree. So, what do you think about this, guys? I think this video has gotten long enough. So, uh, you know my opinion of this. You know what I think. I think I've been very clear. Let me know what you think of this. Why are so many people going to this ideology and why how would you justify this as woke for one? I know that's become kind of a slur nowadays to be woke. It's kind of stupid, right? But they believe that woke is some kind of like next level of thinking. How do they justify anti-Semitism and their obvious uh, love of terrorists as the way to be woke? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you think of all this. Um, and how can we try to stop youth going forward in a lot of these universities from participating in these kind of things? How can we get more education out there to help these people actually wake up? Let me know, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.